Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Couple of Nukes. As always, I'm your host, Mr. Whiskey, and as always, I am exhausted. It's been a long day, and I am ready to go to bed. But as always, I will have my thoughts that keep me up, my tossing and turning, my just everything that could possibly go wrong. But not today, actually. After this episode, I think I will be sleeping quite well from now on, and so will you, ladies and gentlemen, because we are here with Tim Thomas, Australian Special Forces, who took that experience to create the ultimate sleeping techniques for us to utilize so that we can live better lives, so that no one has to go through the pain and wasted time like he did, like so many people have and are currently suffering from, which is just pharmaceutical overload with not the results, just symptom treatment, and just becoming addicted in the sense of it's a crutch. What happens if you end up somewhere where you don't have it? You want to be able to sleep wherever, whenever, especially when you're in the military. So, Tim, Breathwork in Bed, this is what you do. Would you please go ahead and introduce yourself for us?
Hello, everyone. Tim Thomas. You can tell from my accent from Brisbane, Australia, and just great to be here. And look, if you were to give a quick sort of backstory on me, I grew up, my parents worked in some very low socioeconomic conditions with the Australian Aboriginals, and I grew up dyslexic back in the 70s. The technical term for that was you're stupid. And
Right.
from all that, I just for me, I just noticed that if I moved my body, I felt smarter, I felt stronger. And so I just kept on doing the thing that worked. At 25, they said I was too old to be a professional fighter. But I did it anyway. At 30, they told me I was too old to join the special forces. And it was at that point my dyslexia allows me to see the obvious. For me, it's obvious. For other people, it's obvious once I point it out. And what's obvious is that for me, when they said, "Look, you're 30, you're too old," I, I, I said, "Look, this is actually the first time I've ever aged. I've never aged before, right? Kind of obvious. So
Okay.
shouldn't it be me deciding what I can and can't do at 30? Because other people saying you can't do it, you can't do it, they're not actually saying I can't do it. They're saying at at 30 they couldn't do it, you know?
Yes.
So
Yes.
so nothing particularly unique about my service. I did Afghanistan, East Timor. The only unique thing was for the first time in Australia's military history, we took on a scheme that worked in the US called the DRSF scheme, direct recruiting into special forces. So for the first time ever, Australian military were taking civilian personnel and, if, screening the heck out of them.
Right.
And uh, I think the amount of applications were between 5 and 10,000. That dropped down to 70 people. I was the oldest of the crew. My nickname was Old Man Tomo, and there was guys younger, fitter, faster, stronger, probably smarter than me. But there was something about growing up in the 70s where, getting beaten up every day at school was just a Tuesday. It was just normal. You wouldn't even tell your parents. So there was just that old school tough that sort of kept me going. But when we got in, the military was very resistant because up until that point, you had to spend 2 years in a regular infantry platoon to before you could even apply. So we were considered not just queue jumpers, but civilian queue jumpers. And yeah, they really tried to break us. At our initial infantry training, we've still got a statistic: 300% more injuries than any other platoon to go through there. So they
Wow.
would they would actively crawl us through this cactus, which had like spikes 2 inches long, would go through your boot, and then they'd crawl you through kangaroo shit. So it'd get into your wounds, and you get this bursitis. Like guys are having like it looked like
Wow.
we call them rock melons, but you call them cantaloupes. Um, Elbows and knees, right?
Oh
So the
man.
numbers dropped pretty quick, and when we got to selection, there was there was only 15 guys left, and of the 15, I think 12 or 13 got through. I was very proud to say that I made it through on that intake.
Nice.
Um, and then actually Afghanistan, when that kicked off, it was the best thing for us because we actually showed that we could do everything that the other guys could do. And then everyone's thought, oh, this is really good. Then when I got out, like a lot of veterans, I was functioning, but I didn't know I had PTSD. I just thought it was normal that I had to drink half a carton of grog at the end of the day before I could speak to my then wife. I call
Oh
her my
wow.
then wife, not my ex-wife, because I stand for a positive future in that space. And I notice if I say ex-wife, it just attracts all this like a negative
Yeah.
vortex when other guys, your ex-wife, So I renamed my ex-wife then my then wife. So yeah, I used to drink a lot, and then it was impacting my sleeping. I said to the doctor, I'm having trouble sleeping. And he says, no worries. Here's a whole pharmacy. And initially, I'm like, this is awesome. It's like long service leave in a bottle, right? But then the years roll on, and I just became this zombified pill eater. I didn't, nobody tells you the cost of taking these things. I don't remember a lot of that time. That's the time I've kind of lost, and it washed out a lot of other memories. It scared the hell out of me one day, Mr. Whiskey, when I was at my mate's place, and I'm like, this place looks familiar. And then he looked at me like I was stupid. He says, Tim, you helped me move in here. And I'm
Wow.
like, oh,
It's bad.
it scared the hell out of me, like, geez, I just like, I hope I was a good person, you know? Is someone going to come up and punch me in the face because of stuff that I've done that I've forgotten, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, and then coming off this stuff, man, if you want to feel like a second gets turned into a minute and a minute gets turned into an hour, the difficulty coming off this stuff is just incredibly hard. And again, nobody tells you about this stuff. There's like ease, they just throw it at you, right? And they don't tell you the cost of it and they don't tell you how hard it is to come off it. So, like I said, I lost 6 years of my life, Mr. Whiskey, to this, and
Right.
I didn't know that breath work was something that you could use to change your brain chemistry, to change your body chemistry, anti-inflammation, pain reduction. I got a whole lot of chronic injuries that my breath dropped the pain scales in, got me healing. I used to be laid up 3 weeks out of four. Like literally this morning, I was up a bit after 4 a.m. doing my own run, running the dogs out in nature, like an active lifestyle. Motion is the lotion, right? But the reason you don't hear about all these alternate options. Okay. I mean, and I'll say this, there's a time and a place for pharmaceuticals. Sometimes it's
Right.
the lesser of two evils, right? But like you said, it's a crutch. I call it a cast. And like any
Mm.
cast, it's there to sort of help something heal, but it's got to come off at some point.
Right.
And unfortunately, unless you've got a doctor that really, almost really wants the best for you and doesn't just want to sort of throw pills down the aisle and come back in a month, you know, they're going to want you to tap into your own resources, not their resources. So I'm all about sovereignty underneath your own skin.
Mm.
And that's where sleep, as unspectacular as it is um is one of those things that make you sovereign. Conversely, if you're in a state of fatigue, you're not sovereign. Okay. If I'm tired, I'm very suggestible to shit, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we used to weaponize it in the special forces. We used to target our enemy's sleep because we knew if we took out our enemy's sleep for 3 nights, um, it'd mess them up better than a bullet, you know? And that's some pretty thin ice to be, skating on, So the difference between you and me, just like normal people and possibly being in a padded room kept safe, is 3 nights sleep. That blah, 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 blah,
Yeah.
after 3 nights no sleep, that's what we become. And unfortunately, terrible sleep isn't just normalized, it's heroized. It's like looked up to. Oh, I only had 4 hours sleep last night. Give me an extra coffee. What are you complaining about, right?
Yeah. Yeah. For
Okay.
sure.
So there's this hero aspect of just sucking it up and keeping going. And there is a time and a place to suck it up and keep going. This country is made great by that. But if your only option is to suck up and keep going, then you are cashing in your tomorrow to live today. and those
Yeah.
tomorrows bank up. And that's what happened to me. And nobody hears about this stuff because no one's making money from it. And it's not until you have a chronic injury, Mr. Whiskey, that you realize we're not in an age of information right now. We are in an age of marketing. The first 6 pages of Google are
Correct.
marketers, all right?
Correct.
And a
Yep.
marketer, their superpower is they can speak the unspoken words inside your heart. Holy shit, that's exactly what I want. Shut up and take my money. But
Yep.
years will go by, you'll get a smidgen of truth, but you're not getting connected to your power. Because if you got really connected to power, there's no resales. So a market, it's all about the resale. They know how to go, oh, wow. And then people end up blaming themselves. And I had so many veterans come to me saying, look, I tried to get help. The help didn't help. In fact, it made it worse. So I'm never getting help again.
Yep.
And that's where most of it stays, right?
Yeah.
So there's there's marketers which are very easily, that's the age we're in right now. Not an age of information, age of marketing. Um, but then there's healers. And a healer, they're kind of hard to find. They're often through word of mouth. They're often through authentic conversations like we're having now. And what a healer will do is firstly, he realizes or she realizes, I'm human. My energy is not enough for two people, but I have a connection to something super powerful. It might have taken me a month, a year, a decade to master that connection, but I can help other people make that connection in far less time.
Right.
And so the way I see humans, Mr. Whiskey, is we're a bit like solar panels. In Australia, lots of sun, we have a lot of solar panels.
Right. Right.
And a solar panel is as powerful as what it's lined up to. And what we have to do if we're ever going to say we help somebody is we can't be the light ourselves. I think celebrities tend to sort of have that sense about them. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
look at me, I'm the light. No, you're not. But what someone will do is have a very powerful alignment to their source of power and help other people make those subtle alignments so they can align and then get that connection. And it's really hard to turn into that, into your source of connection when you're in a state of fatigue and you're very susceptible to suggestion. So when you're hurting, a lot of people look for Superman because they want that one thing that'll knock it out the park. And there's plenty of, everywhere you look, here's the one solution. And then people will do that and then they'll just give up because it's like it's not helping. And then they blame themselves
Yeah.
and they retract or they retreat and then they isolate even more. So, um, I have a P test, right? I have 3 Ps: powerful, positive, and permanent.
Okay.
And so everything I do is powerful, needs to be powerful, it needs to be positive, but also needs to be permanent. So permanency is the most important. So, you and I, we can have a great conversation. People can get, benefit from hearing this
Yeah.
authentic share, but what do they get tomorrow? What do they get the next week, the week after? So a lot of, you know, public speakers, a lot of people who run seminars, they have this big rah, 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 awesome, awesome. But then a week later, nothing's changed and people can often feel lower. And then they just
Yeah.
become this, they follow this particular guru around because they continually need topping up. The guru isn't actually connecting them to their power. Okay. So I withdrew from public life about 2 years ago because I got a letter from a very high ranking Australian Army officer. He didn't attend my seminar, but he sent me this email saying, Tim, I had all my corporals and sergeants coming up to me saying, after your seminar, they had the first good night's sleep in up to 5 years. And he thought that was awesome. I'm like, that's actually terrible. They haven't slept in 5 years. Okay.
Yeah. That's
Right. But then he said, what he said next stopped me. And I've only started circulating back into the mainstream now. And that was, Tim, it was good when you're there, but what do you have for them when you're not there? And I'm like, holy shit, I just failed my P test. I'm not permanent. Okay.
mm,
So, as much as you can't see that post, it's probably a bit blurred. I created Breathwork in Bed. It's this online resource that simply gives you access to your lungs to guide you to the best night's sleep with peace. But then I find the best thing about this app is it guides you out of bed. So instead of lifting yourself out of bed and it feels like lead weight and I've got to be more
Right.
motivated. No, you spend a few minutes, you breathe into your body, you activate your body, and you transmute that lead feeling into gold, and your feet hit the ground in a very different state. So I can't do what you do, Mr. Whiskey, and I can't do what the people listening can do. But if I can improve their sleep, if I can have them getting out of the bed feeling amazing, then they're going to bring their gifts into the world, in such a better way.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I'll just say I can't do what you do crawling through cacti and kangaroo crap. I definitely can't. Wouldn't want to do it. But there's a lot to unpack there that you talked about. Definitely a couple points I want to make, and I agree with you. I actually know a Navy sailor. She was having trouble sleeping, and they gave her a bipolar medication to put her to sleep to help with her sleep, and she ended up having bipolar mood swings because when you're not bipolar and you start taking medicine to deal with that, there's going to be a hormonal imbalance, whatever it does. And she was reaching out to me with these nasty messages and then being like, I'm so sorry, this is my medication. And it's
Mm.
great. And I said, why are you on bipolar medication? And she's like, well, it's helping me sleep according to the Navy. And, we see a lot of that. And you mentioned people are saying they're going to the doctor saying I can't sleep, and the doctor goes, "All right, take this, you can sleep." We don't even think, most of us, what are the consequences? How does this work? Because all we're thinking is I need to sleep. And if you've been sleep deprived, if you're having trouble sleeping, I mean that's one of those things where you really want that. I mean, because it does add up. I
Yeah,
know they
you
did
want
an
Superman. You want the
experiment.
thing that's going to do it now.
Yeah, that's one of those like we need it now things because like I mean, you can see it. You can observe it physically. People getting moody when they're not sleeping. Their attitude changes. Their energy levels change. You can see it. So it's one of those things where it's not something easily hid. And like you said, there's a time and place, especially in the military or in your job, to sometimes you have to cut back on sleeping hours, but that should be temporary. And what I love you talk about the whole marketing age. That is 100% correct, and that includes energy drinks, and coffee. And so what we have
Can
with
I
that
can I just jump in there?
glorification,
You just
yeah,
you just said something. Okay, so think of energy like money. How you invest it is how you get it back. Now, if
right,
you're investing money without even keeping track of it, usually you run out of it, right?
right,
And then if you're out of money and you still need money, you'll get a loan from anywhere you want. And that loan you generally have to pay back with more interest.
right.
And then we get more in debt, and then we still need money to function, so we get. And so think of your own, like, coffee, energy drinks. They're all short-term energy loans by these loan sharks that you got to pay back twice as much.
Yeah, for
It's
sure.
and but they know that when you're in a state of fatigue, you just got to have something here and now. So being energetically sovereign is just like being financially sovereign. It gives you that position to, you know, engage with the world from that position of strength. So, sorry, continue on. I just wanted to jump in there because that is such a big thing, and it's to me it's incredibly unethical to give somebody something that's actively, essentially destroying them.
Oh yeah,
These energy drinks, that's just as bad as smoking. you
it
know,
is.
creating a
Incre-
dependency, creating a lot of preventable diseases. Um, yeah, sorry, continue on.
Yeah, I won't, drop any brand names, but there are particular energy drinks that are a lot more popular in the military, at least here in the US. And we do mandatory drug testing routine, and there are guys their piss is brown because all they do is drink energy drinks. Their piss is
Piss
brown.
and dirt.
And I don't think anyone you don't need to be a scientist to know that your piss is not supposed to be brown, okay? It is not
Yep,
supposed to be
yep.
that color because it's destroying their kidneys, it's not hydrating,
Oh,
and like you said, some people don't understand this, but I've been taught how it works is it's not giving you energy, it's blocking your low energy detection system, so to
yeah,
speak. It's just saying we're going to shut off the I'm tired, I need sleep alarm going off in our
yeah,
body. We're just going to ignore that, put it on mute, and we're going to keep
yeah.
going through it. It's
It's
like,
not a stimulant; it's a pain relief.
yeah,
Not a
exactly.
strengthener. It's just a stimuli deadener. And if that, and coffee is a powerful drink, and if anyone wants to sort of take something immediately away, um, if you're going to have a coffee, wait 90 minutes after waking, because the first 90 minutes after getting out of bed, your body is purging all these sleep chemicals. And if you have a coffee within the first 90 minutes, it'll keep those chemicals in your system. It's like a coffee puts the plug in and doesn't let those chemicals purge. So that's why mid-morning you get the sleepies, because you've got all those chemicals still in your system. So ideally, when you first wake up, you want to hydrate. And I take a teaspoon of salt. Get a really good quality salt, and that sets you up really powerfully. And you then get so much more from your coffee. Does that make sense? So if you wanna triple the benefit you get from your coffee, let those tired chemicals leave your system, hydrate. That'll energize you, and then that'll give you a base for that coffee to benefit you, if you know what I
Right.
mean. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm tracking.
Cool. Carry on. Carry on.
But I just want to make sure. So you put a teaspoon of salt into your water in the morning. Is that correct?
Well, I like salt that much that I'll just put it in my mouth, because if you go to there's like salt shops. There's a lot of different kinds of salt, and I get a particular salt that is drawn from the coastline of where I grew up, in South Australia. I'm on the East Coast. That's kind of the West Coast. So that's
Okay.
just like a bit of a reconnection. If you think of your body like an electrical circuit, and electricity flows better through salty water, right?
Right.
So having that salt, having that water, really good for your brain, really good for your body. And fun fact, and in the military, hydration is an important thing, and obviously pissing
Oh
brown
yeah.
is one of those things. So we actually, if you just drink water, 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 you do actually dehydrate your body. And I'll just explain how that works. Think of a cell, and it's hydrated to the level of salts that are in it. And every time you add water to your body, your cells have to give up salts for it to be processed. So if you're just drinking water, 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 your cells are holding less salt, and therefore they're not as hydrated. So when I went to this naturopath a few years back, she hooked me up to a machine and she said, "You're dehydrated." I said, "That's bullshit. I drink 3 liters a day." And she said, "That's why you're dehydrated." So she
Wow.
put me on this salt regime. I hydrated, and all my run times improved by like 20%, not because I was fitter, but because I was more hydrated. So, it's one thing to drink water, but if you're not adding like proper salt, then you can actually be dehydrating yourself. That's just another little gift for the listeners, that you don't hear
Yeah.
about it unless you have like an authentic conversation like this.
Yeah, no, that's great. For those of us who aren't the fancy salt enthusiasts, can we use regular sea salt from the store? Would that work as
Yeah, regular sea
effectively?
salt's fine as long as it's sea salt, not iodized.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Okay.
sea salt from, any kind of sea salt, rock salt, whatever. You know, um, I'm very tactile in my mouth. I like to chew it up. Not everyone
Okay.
likes to do that. I mean, you could just add like I've got my, that's like a. Have you heard of cacao? Or
Not
it's like
familiar.
hot chocolate. It's where chocolate comes from. Cacao is where
Okay.
chocolate comes from, right?
Oh, yes, yes,
So
yes,
I've got
yes.
a. I,
Yes.
I use salt instead of sugar in my drink, and you've got to adjust your taste buds, because most
Yeah.
people are so used to having sugar and everything. But when and that's one way of me getting my salt. And the thing is, when you have salt in your system and you are hydrated, 80% of all daytime fatigue is related to um, hydration problems.
Mm.
Okay, so if you're tired, there's an 80% chance you're not hydrated. And the body confuses thirst with hunger. So people eat more when they're dehydrated. So when you're fully hydrated and you've got the right amount of salt in your system, you're going to eat less naturally, you know. But if you're thirsty, you're dehydrated, your body goes, "Oh, I must be hungry." So if you are going to the fridge because you're hungry, just have a glass of water and check in. Am I still hungry? Oh, actually, no, I was thirsty. So this is, and especially, if you've got a job that, you punch, you're so focused on something outside of yourself that you've
Right.
lost connection from your own body. Um, and a lot of what we're talking about here, Mr. Whiskey, is a result of, we as humans can be so focused on something outside of ourselves that we lose connection to our own bodies.
Yeah.
And we can have all sorts of crazy crap happening and we just think it's normal, and we'll take substances to deaden that sensation and keep us going because it's so important getting this done, you know, um, that we've stopped listening to ourselves. So when I set up veteran programs, I created pathways for people to then to connect with their own bodies. And breath is one of them. And when you connect to your own body and you actually listen to it, often if you've been ignoring it for a period of time, it'll say, "Oh wow, this guy's listening," and I'll just walk you through that. So working with veterans, I know when I've got them at the right level of connection when their body language changes and they open up and they start looking up and they start saying things like, "Oh wow, I feel like the shackles have fallen off," and they're in this
Right.
state. And then very soon after that, when the body goes, "Oh, you're listening to me. Guess what? We're really tired." So I'd always have cushions ready for guys just to lay down because they haven't been listening to their body. The body's been in a state of fatigue. And when they get connected back to it, you're like, let's sleep, because when you sleep, you self-regulate. Everything sorts itself out when you sleep.
Right.
Conversely, if you're not sleeping, everything doesn't balance. So that's why I just I was successful in the veteran space with very little resources, because I understood that success of anything is measured by the amount of sleep that it improves. Because when you actually give an organism proper rest, it naturally, it's got everything it needs to self balance, self right, heal, rest, recover, and then perform. And a lot of people haven't figured out yet that quality performance comes from quality rest. When I'm working with my corporates and they're all about performance, I say, think of performance like a pyramid. Top of the pyramid, you're kicking ass, you're making bank, you're hitting your targets.
Yep.
Or if you go into the gym, people think about what they're doing in the gym, how hard they're working in the gym. But it's not what you do at the top of the pyramid. It's combined with what you do at the bottom: rest, recovery, healing, art forms.
Yes.
Okay, so
Yes.
if you can extend that bottom, and most people, they know how to work hard. They don't need to be told how to work hard, but what they need to be guided to, and what there's not enough attention given to in our society, is how to get quality peace, how to get quality rest. Our busy world tends to rob us of quality peace. Everyone's doing it, so it must be normal. So who am I to complain? So and the thing is, the reason why at 30 I could do what I was doing is because I understood this performance pyramid. And I spent the time to rest, recover, heal, um, especially going through, basic training and all that sort of stuff.
Right.
So when the younger guys would be going out and getting, hitting the town, getting drunk, I'd be, you know, back on base, doing my stretching, doing my, cold showers, breath work. And that then allowed me to get stronger as time went on. So if you widen the bottom of your pyramid, you're not going to age like anyone else.
Mm.
So I'm at a point now where I don't celebrate birthdays. It's a group hypnosis, because the society says at 20 you're supposed to be doing this, at 30 you're doing this, at 40, at 50, at 60. All
Right.
right. And that is just wasted energy of someone else's idea of what you are. So every day when I wake up, I look at my feet and say my feet are strong, my ankles are strong, calves are strong, knees, and I go through every single body part, strong as when I was at 25. Okay. And that's a very different energetic state to be in than when you're like, fuck, it's another day. I don't want to do this. And, you know, it's, and when you sort of connect to yourself and your own sovereignty, you're no longer susceptible to this market, the marketers that are goddamn everywhere, saying, hey, you can't be happy like this, you need that. But we essentially, at the end of the day, we can give ourselves the very thing that we seem to be chasing. So think of this: imagine before you start your day giving yourself everything you need, and then the rest of your day is like icing on the cake or just a victory lap. And this is where I'm going with breath work. If you can tap into that deep ancient wiring and nourish that, then you're not going forward looking for nourishment outside of yourself. You're going forward going, well, this I'm just going to have an awesome day. I'm a complete sovereign unit, and I'm negotiating from a position of strength. and guess what? I'm in touch with something so much greater than what can be taken from me, because we've all been taken from, right? And
Yeah,
we
constantly.
often, and you've got to be careful with that, because if it's a bit like if someone took 25 cents from me, I can say, yes, it was wrong for them to take that 25 cents, but I can spend the next 7 days trying to get that back. It's a very different headspace if you say, look, I got 25 cents taken from me, but tomorrow I'm going to make $1 million. I'm just going to work on making $1 million, you know,
Mm,
and
mm,
it's that shift
yeah,
of and that's where a lot of veterans get stuck, because they might have feel like they were taken advantage of in their service. They were given the wrong advice. A particular situation was unfair, and the healing that needs to take place allows you to then invest more wisely. Because if I'm investing all my energy in negative stuff and all the wrong stuff and how I got hurt, and I can hang out with other veterans that agree with me, right? And I
yeah, yeah, for
and the
sure.
thing that tripped me out of that circuit was I don't get the luxury of taking all that effed up stuff in my life to the grave. Okay, I pay that forward not just to my kids but to everyone who meets me. So I have to get healing for me so I don't pay it forward to my kids or anyone who interacts with me. And it was that sort of realization that even if I'm sucking it up, I'm not uh I'm not doing anyone any favors, and I'm impeding my own growth and the growth of those around me. So yeah, went down a bit of a rabbit warren in there, Mr. Whiskey, but I hope you sort of followed along.
Oh, I'm definitely following along, and I'm grateful for it because we came here to sleep better, but you gave us a ton of advice for our mindset and our health in general. That is also that we can make permanent into our lives as well. So I think that's great, and there's a couple things I want to address there. So just going back to where I was going with coffee and energy drinks
Yeah, go on, go.
before we learned about the salt and water, which was great. Advice. It's funny because I've heard other people talking about the dehydration epidemic, they call it, going across America and the world in general. Just improper hydration and then misconceptions about it. So I think that's great advice. And I know tonight and tomorrow I will be implementing salt into my diet, non-iodized. I'm going to find it somewhere. I'm not going to find it from the Australian coast right away, but I might try to get what you have over there. Sounds
Well,
pretty
even
good.
even just a pink salt, like a good quality pink salt.
I
Um,
love the pink sea salt, so I
yeah,
already got
okay,
some
yeah,
of that on standby,
yeah,
so we'll
yeah.
we'll be good.
Piece of cake, yeah.
Yeah.
But just I remember this one, P White, ready to fight.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what we say in the Australian League. P White, ready to fight. Um, and yeah, that's just a good saying.
Okay. I never that, see. I love podcasting because I learned so much that I've never heard before, and I realize how big the world is. So I love these international conversations. And but going back to the energy drinks and the coffee, all I was gonna say is that because of their existence, they're kind of being served as the justification for that glorification of only sleeping 2 or 4 hours. Because it's like, oh man, you only slept 2 hours. It's like, oh, it's fine. Now, I've got an energy drink or I got a coffee, and it markets itself hand in hand with that people kind of bragging because we equate time awake to success. So the less you sleep, it's like, wow, I'm doing so much more. But how you use that time, if you're fatigued and not thinking straight, then it's going to be improperly used time, and that's not valuable. So I definitely agree with you. And trying to think, there was so much that I needed to address. And okay, yeah. So you talked about ignoring the consequences of just not sleeping, of all this stuff when we're focusing on something outside of our own body so much. And
Oh
it's
yeah. So
great that
so
you
all
mentioned
your
that.
imbalances in your daytime activities show up at sleep. Okay,
Yeah,
so the doctors are very easy to give you a pill, but they're not looking at all the imbalances that created that sleepless state. Okay, so part of what I do is I work with research foundations and get them to understand, especially, I mean, the veteran world is the human world too, but it's just a bit more acute because it's
yeah,
more of a lifestyle that can than just I can't, my favorite saying is veterans are sort of black belts in effing themselves up. Okay. Um,
yeah.
right?
I'll agree with that one.
Yeah. So that means that we actually become black belts and healers. You understand
Mm,
that?
okay.
So if I'm talking to a veteran, I've just got my veteran teeth in, I'll say, you might not feel like you're special, but I can bet you've been through some shit. And it's our job to turn that shit into fertilizer. And the stinkiest shit becomes the best fertilizer. It's actually there to help you grow and everyone else grow. And what you have to realize is the thing that takes you, it might take you a week, a month, a year, a decade to turn that shit into fertilizer. But guess what? That could be the amount of time you save other people. So one conversation with you can save someone a month, a decade in
Right.
time. And to me, that's like a human superpower. Say, because the most valuable thing we have is time, right? And time
Yeah.
spent in pain is like a minute can feel like an hour. So just realize that if you're going through some shit, ask yourself this question: how many other people do you think are going through that right now? Everyone listening right now is up against something, some obstacle,
Yeah.
something in their life. Now, ask yourself an honest question: how many other people are it would be potentially in your situation right now,
Right. Right.
right?
And
Could be hundreds, thousands, millions. And if you, what you need to understand is if you can find a way forward for you, you're going to find a way forward for them. Okay. And they're people you haven't even met yet are going to say, we are so glad that you started making certain choices to move yourself forward because you showed us it's possible. Now, you might not be telling them anything they haven't heard before, but because you've gone through what they've gone through, that gives you the qualification to send, the words they've heard all the other times. You can send it from their head down into their heart, down into their DNA. And they can like you or hate you. It doesn't matter. You've shown them it's possible. And I need you to see that whatever you're up against right now, that is going to be from the perspective of other people, the most valuable thing about you. It's not what we do that we think it's what we do that adds value. It's actually what we've come through.
mm,
So you see the difference there?
yeah.
And like I said, if you can attach the concept of thousands of other people looking, left and right of you, willing you on, saying, can you find us a way? And no matter how long it takes, that's the amount of time you're going to save them. And that gives us, because if it's just me and I'm in my own bubble, in my own isolation, I could take all sorts of substances. My favorite substance was alcohol, and I'm like, it doesn't matter. It all doesn't matter, right? But if I can see that if I can get through this, there's going to be people um, really glad I made choices before we even met because that helps them move forward in their own lives.
Yeah, I think it goes back to what you were talking about, the permanent part of your three P's. And I think, we talk about motivational speakers and motivation fades out. What we really need is almost disciplined speakers, teaching people discipline. And I think the best way I want to say it is in the old saying, if you give someone a fish, you feed them for a day. If you teach them how to fish, you feed them for life. That's what we need to do with our situation is if we're just taking pills to sleep, we're just eating one fish at a time. But if we learn how to fish, not only can we practice and master that art, we can teach it to other people. And that's what you've done with sleeping. So, Tim, tell us a little bit about what you're doing nowadays. You mentioned breath work in
Yeah,
bed.
sure.
So, what does that all entail?
So it's such a perfect segue because you said about teaching discipline. I believe in micro habits. I've been the guy that says, oh, something I want to fix something. I've got to do something big, a big 3 day thing, a big 12
Yeah.
week thing, and then when it's all done, everything goes back to normal, right? And
Mm.
then you're like, oh shit. So I'm all about micro habits, those tiny small things that we do regularly, and breath work in bed is exactly that. You basically say to this, you know, thing when you want to sleep, when you want to wake up, and it just falls out of your phone with a notification. Excuse me. You press a button and it guides your breath a certain way, and you're literally just laying in bed, breathing a certain way. and it'll alkalize your brain, bring healing to your body, bring peace. And even if you get to sleep easily, the body goes into its deep clean when it goes to sleep. And so it makes a lot of sense to give it a big oxygen boost before it does its deep clean, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
plus, when you wake up at 3 a.m., it's pretty goddamn lonely. So to have a button there that you can push to help guide your breath back to sleep is an absolute godsend. And that it does come with a warning in the way that our minds are like gardens. Whatever you water grows. And for years, I was watering the weeds of stress.
Mm.
And what happens with stress weeds is they'll grow, grow, grow to a certain point, and then eyeballs will pop out of them and they'll become sentient. They start going, well, I know what's going to feed me, I know what's going to starve me. And it has you doing things that keep you stressed and avoiding things that give you power. It's a bit like, before you do some sort of exercise, there's a part of you that goes, oh, let's do this later, let's not do this now. That's the disempowered parts of you knowing that you're about to be powerful. And when you're powerful, they get kicked out.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you see how that works? And so when you are in a state like I was in a state of stress and the stress weeds are running the show, they tell you the breath work's not going to work. It's bullshit. Um, and but somewhere between breath 15 and 25, those stress weeds get kicked out, and the rest of your brain is like, oh, thank goodness you kicked them out. Now we're at peace. Keep breathing, and let's get into this. So especially at 3 a.m. when the stress weeds are normally used to running the show, they will tell you this is bullshit. It's not going to work. But like magic, you hit that button, you breathe a certain way, and it kicks that stuff out. And I just want to speak to why breath work is so super powerful. So think of us as living organisms, right?
Right.
Before we were sentient and putting, paintings on rock walls, we were breathing. Before we were speaking, we were breathing.
Right.
So breath goes deeper than thought, deeper than words. So I've taken people on breath journeys and they say, I can't explain what happened. I said, well, just because it's beyond words. It's an experience. And something that psychologists haven't figured out yet. They do 7 years of study, but no one tells them that the trauma goes deeper than their words can reach. Okay. It's like trying to shoot a target at 400 yards, but your gun only goes 200 yards, you
Mm.
know? And these psychologists say, oh, look, I'm shooting in the right direction. Look at this gun. Isn't it awesome? I spent 7 years making this, you know?
Yeah.
And the person's there, well, you're not hitting my targets. You're just not. And breath goes deeper than words and it changes the way it's a chemical override. I got quite frustrated when I had PTSD because people saying, oh, just meditate, just meditate. And I'm like, my head is out of control. Meditation is thoughts controlling thoughts. And if your thoughts are out of control, that's super hard. Now, meditation does work for some people when they get to a state of control, but back at grassroots level, when there's people that are in that state, the chemical override of breath is the thing that gets you into that state of peace and essentially reconnected to your body. So when understanding that breath will override your own thoughts and it doesn't cost anything, and this is why you don't hear about it. No one's making money from this stuff, Mr. Whiskey. So
Right.
it's kind of up to us to make it accessible, and this silly little thing that you can put on your phone, Breathwork in Bed, is one super easy way to have micro habits that then allow you to connect powerfully to yourself. And there's two completely different types of people in this world, and they're both you. There's the you that's well rested, wins the first 10 minutes of the day, and they go through the day negotiating with everything from a position of strength and connection. And whenever you negotiate with something, it's usually the stronger person that wins. But then there's the you, the me as well, that doesn't get a good night's sleep, doesn't invest himself, doesn't win the first 10 minutes of the day. On a good day, that might mean an extra coffee, an extra beer. On a bad day, I become an a-hole because I need energy. I haven't gotten it
Yeah.
for myself, so I take it from others. And then you start realizing why there's so many a-holes in the world, because they need energy. They haven't made it for themselves, so they're getting good at taking it from others. They're drowning even though they're above water. So this is why it's unspectacular but super powerful, being sovereign with your sleep. And I made the Breathwork in Bed app to spoon feed exactly when you need it, how you need it, and getting out of bed. It's not just breath work connecting to your body. There's also mirror work. So you stand in the mirror, and I'm like, when I first did, I'm like, this is the stupidest thing I've ever done. But the saying in the army, if it's stupid and it works, it ain't stupid, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
here I
Right.
am saying these things, this positive stuff in the mirror, and I could feel my brain going click, 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 click. Yeah, connect, connect, connect. And I'm like, this stuff works. And the thing that enabled me to achieve I had a lifetime goal of saving 40 veteran lives from suicide, right? Because we'd lost in Australia, we've lost about 40 guys to bullets. In Afghanistan, we've lost 20 or 30 times that amount to suicide, right? So I
Yeah.
thought, if I can save 40 guys, I'd be happy to work the rest of my life if I can save 40 guys from suicide. That was achieved within 1 year, because dyslexic, I saw a pattern. If we could break someone's isolation, realize they're not alone in what they're doing, and if we could get them out of fatigue, it's like all the shit fell off their internal compass, and they knew exactly what they're going to do next. And there's millions of dollars poured into veterans and veteran recovery, and it's just water off a duck's back if they're feeling alone and isolated, and if they're feeling fatigued.
Yeah.
And so, one or two guys a week would say, I had everything ready in the car to kill myself, but because of that one conversation and that connection and the steps I've been taking, I'm like, it's everything changes, and it
Amen.
happens very rapidly once you actually understand what's going on. So when I started seeing what worked in these extreme cases, I've now packaged it in a way where people can access it easily, effortlessly, micro habits, and this thing has an accumulative effect. Okay, so in the military, when you're zeroing your rifle, if you miss it, if you're out at 10 centimeters at 100 meters, at 200 meters it's 20 centimeters, at 300 meters it's 30 centimeters, right?
Right.
So as you do these micro habits, it's going to be accumulating. A lot of positive stuff is going to be happening. Now, energy seeks to create and connect with more energy, just like if a lack of energy seeks to protect and conserve, right? So you're never holding ground here. It's you don't get the luxury of holding ground. You're either getting less energy or more. And when you do the thing that gets me excited about this app is the morning routine. Once you've connected to your body, once you've connected to your mind, you're asked a question: do you want to double the energy and connection you're feeling right now? Because our energy and power isn't supposed to be just staying inside our own skins. Let's pay it forward. Let's do an act of generosity. It doesn't have to cost you anything. Let's just let someone in traffic. Let's just listen more than we talk in the next conversation. I could buy someone a cup of coffee.
Right.
And when that happens, and within the app, there's a social section there called the Generosity News Wall, where you actually get to post up the news of an act of generosity, as simple and effective as it is. And this changes the narrative that we have in our world right now. So most of the news we hear is about disempowered and disconnected people. Imagine if we got news from empowered and connected people. You
Mm.
know,
Amen.
Tom from Texas took his neighbor's bins in. You know, some guy I never met bought a stranger a coffee. There's the empowered and connected people in this world. We have the numbers, but we don't have the attention. And so my
Yeah.
my part of the vision of this small thing that we're doing with our breath and internal connections is leading to something that uh, allows us to see the unseen, and that is the amount of good people that are out there, the amount of the amount of good that's actually in this world. And right now, the narrative, it's it it it's not giving the attention to uh, the people that are empowered and connected. Yeah, so just simply, I think I got a bit lost there, Mr. Whiskey, but hopefully you're picking up what I'm putting down.
Yeah, I'm tracking everything. I'm tracking everything. One thing I want to mention before we close out here is I know you've been talking about your mobile app, but you also have a website. How does that
Oh
differ
yeah,
from the app? And what can we find on your website?
sure. So if you go to the website, you will find links to the app. But if you subscribe there, I'll send you a bunch of free stuff, audio books, all that sort of stuff. Um, I do have a book here, Fight, Flight, Feel. But uh, if you go to the website, subscribe. Australia has some pretty tight anti-spam laws, so you do have to confirm you're not a robot, and you do have to, once you get an email, just confirm the email, and then I'll send you a bunch of free stuff. Um, and this is a really good conversation, but the power happens tonight. The power happens next week. The power happens in a year time.
Right.
Imagine, okay, I just imagine you having good sleep for a month, you having poor sleep for a month, 2 months, a year. This is sort of the world we're sort of creating. And I'm sure if you keep an ear open, you start hearing, oh my gosh, there's so many people that just aren't sleeping. So imagine if you could just flick them a link where they could improve their sleep that night. Because a lot of people talk about sleep. I'm so tired of hearing statistics and how smart people are because I've done a study and I'm like, what can I use right now and I can take home and I can use immediately? And that's
Right.
and that's sort of what I'm trying to do there. But so what I'm trying to say is the most important thing here isn't me and what I've done. It's what you can get from your own lungs because people don't realize it's not a set of lungs we own. It's a medicine cabinet with a lot of different shelves. So when I'm working with high school students, I'll show them to breathe a certain way so they can focus and do their exams. When I'm working with corporates, I'll show them how to reset their head really rapidly so they can keep kicking ass. When I'm working with athletes, it's amazing how many athletes don't know how to breathe correctly. But look, we've spoken enough about breath. How much more time do we have?
We're good. We want to know how to sleep. We want to know how to breathe.
Okay,
So
because I want to give you something that you can use, like that you can use right now. I want you to have a lived experience. Blah blah blah. Let's get lived experience. Would you like to do that?
yeah, for sure.
So the only thing I'd ask anyone listening is make sure you're just in a safe place. You're not driving your car. You're just either seated or laying down. I'm going to actually show you how within 3 breaths you can completely relax your body. Sounds too good to be true, right? But what you have to understand is how long you've been breathing for, Mr. Whiskey.
I like to think since I've been born.
So the point I'm trying to make here is you've been breathing a certain way,
Mm,
okay? And when we breathe the right way, you just have to be ready to allow yourself to empty out what you think you know and take on something new. Because this will be like it's the habit we all have, you know. And to me, it's like everyone's born to run, but we've been limping, and everyone's limping, so it's normal.
mm,
And a
yeah.
fun fact, you know how I spoke about the lungs being medicine. If you shallow breathe, you're sending a signal to your body that you're in fight or flight. And let me just exaggerate this. So if you saw someone going, they're about to freak out, right?
Right.
And believe it or not, we're all very conscious of each other's breath. So if you're in a public place and you start going, you just watch everyone go, well, something's going on, right? So
Yeah. Yeah.
there's
Exactly.
there's some deep ancient wiring there. So I'm going to show you how to breathe fully, and that's going to send a very different signal to your brain. Because if you're only shallow breathing, you're basically telling yourself you're in fight or flight, and then we wonder why we're so disconnected because um, it's more important to focus on that you need to fight or run away from.
Right.
So just give yourself permission to sort of feel safe, relax, put everything out of your mind. And I'm going to show you something that if this is the one thing you take away with, you are going to be able to restore not just relaxation, but what I call sovereignty underneath your own skin. So it's really, really simple. Again, I just ask people to be seated or laying down and just simply breathe in, and then breathe in again and again and again and again. Feel that little bit of extra space? Okay, let that go. So that little bit of extra space, we're going to call that your secondary inhale. So primary inhale is what you normally breathe in. Secondary inhale, you got to focus on and lift into, right?
Right.
So now I'm going to show you how to turbo boost that secondary inhale. So your fingers and your thumb, they're going to push together. These are your turbo buttons, okay? And you push them together as hard as you can when it gets to that secondary inhale. So you breathe in on your own, on your primary. When it
Okay.
comes to the secondary, drive that in as hard as you can and just notice that giving you a bit of a boost. So let's do that.
Okay.
Breathing in normally, and then when it comes to your secondary, just hit your turbo buttons. All right, nice. Let it go. Now you
Okay.
notice how those little turbo buttons gave you a bit extra?
Right.
So now we're going to open it up even more. So I call this my power triangle. So my chin to my fingers, right? That's a triangle. And what
Right.
I'm going to do is I'm going to hit my power buttons as I raise my chin and I widen that triangle and I look to the ceiling. Okay, so I'll just give you a little demonstration. So the brow of your hat's going forward. It should be at the end of this, it needs to be facing to the roof. So it's going to be
Okay.
breathing in on your own and okay, you're opening up that triangle, trying to lift it all up. So let's give that a try.
All right.
So breathe in on your own, have your power button and your triangle ready. Breathe in and then hit your turbo and raise and look at the ceiling. Raise the chin, raise the chin, raise the chin, raise the chin. That's it. Hold it there for a second. Move your shoulders around. Wriggle it around. Feel that extra space. Move your shoulders back and forth, back and forth. It's like you're trying to create extra space in that upper chest and then just let it out with a sigh. Okay, so we're going to do that again and make it nice and smooth. So start with your own
Okay.
momentum. And if you look at me from my side profile, I'm really going and I'm opening up my chest.
Okay.
Okay. Proper breath gives you proper alignment. When I'm all hunched over, that's not proper
Mhm.
breathing. So big breathing, and this is exaggerated, allows you to open that up. Okay. So let's just do
All
that
right.
nice and smooth. Breathe in, have your power triangle ready, then hit your power buttons and open everything up. Chin up, chin up, chin up, chin up higher. That's it. Tip your head back. Good. Now hold it and just push it around. Open up a bit more space. Feel how good it is to open that space up. You probably haven't opened up that before. Really good. And then just let it gently fall out with a sigh. Ah.
Definitely takes some getting used to. Very, new. So
Oh yeah, right.
I feel
And
good though. I feel good. So
oh no, and this feeling of goodness is going to be your guide. Well, that felt good. I want to do more. And guess what? We're only halfway through.
oh, okay.
Okay. So, what when we breathe and we breathe in and we get that power triangle, all
Okay.
right, we're going to hold it up there because up here, this is where we carry a lot of tension. So, breathing up into here, I call this the breath of possibility. So, when something feels impossible and I want to make it possible, this is my, breathe it up there and I'll really snort it through my nose, right? And, it can be used anywhere. My thing, I tend to get a bit frustrated when I'm stuck in a queue. So I'll be doing that little circuit breaker with my fingers when I feel like there's non-sovereign thoughts in my head. I'll break
Right.
that circuit with my fingers and take that breath. And it's like I'm snorting. It's like when I snort it into this upper third, it's like I'm displacing the crap from my head. Okay. So
Okay.
when I used to be
Yeah.
have a lot of pills, I used to have pills not just in the medicine cabinet, but in my car, in my, next to my bed, in the fruit bowl, all
Wow.
these different places where I just access so I could self-medicate. Now I use my breath. I use this little breath of possibility to be my self-regulator. So you
Mm.
see how that works? We create the medicine. We are the pharmacists. Um,
Yeah.
we call them the drugstore people. Um, and or the alchemist, you could say. So we're halfway through this breath of possibility. That's the top third. The bottom third is the breath of peace. Okay, so the bottom third of our lungs, that's where all the the best gas exchange happens, because your little airbags called alveoli are wrapped in a lot of blood
Right.
down low. So what we're going to do right now, and allow me to demonstrate this, is you breathe in as much as you can, then you hold your breath, and then you just let yourself gently fold down. And as you fold down, it's like you're trying to squeeze toothpaste from the end. So you're taking that air from up here, sending it past your middle lungs into your belly, and you hold your belly and just sort of pressurize it there for a second.
Okay.
Okay, you pressurize it there for a second, and then you let it out with a as long as you can. So you pressurize it and you just let it bleed out. Okay.
Is it like clenching your abs when you're folding and you're
Oh,
breathing
not
in
not
some?
particularly hard. This is all pretty gentle. It's just pressurizing. You don't squeeze it too hard necessarily, but
Okay.
you do hold it. You know, if 10 was really hard and zero was nothing, you probably want to be 4.5.
Oh, okay.
Okay, maybe
Okay.
5. Okay, so squeezing it there, but not like squeezing it so there's any sort of blood coming out of your
Oh, okay.
eyeballs. Okay,
Glad I got that clarification. I was ready to go to an 8. So,
you're right. No, I'm glad. I'm glad.
okay.
So although that said, when I'm working with athletes, there are times to go to 8 to 10. And when you are generating, because the presence of oxygen dissolves lactic acid. So when I'm working with an athlete and I need them to cycle through, they'll push it down there and then they'll make like a noise. You'll be like, ah, so to put some adrenaline and power into that. Okay. So, and people naturally, if they want to do something hard, they'll go, right. And they'll
Yeah,
make that
yeah, for
noise. And
sure.
what they're doing is increasing the oxygen exchange in their lungs. Okay. And they're creating a resonance to improve that. So what we're going to do now is the breath of peace. We're not powering up with this one. So this one will make, let's just enough talk. Let's just give this a go. So we're gonna have your power triangle ready. Okay. And I
Okay.
really want you to power up and lift and open and allow that to fully fill, and then just let it fall up, in, chin up, chin up, chin up, open, 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 open. Good. Open. Feeling everything open. Now holding your breath, push it around a little bit, push your shoulders back and forth. And then just let that gently fall forward. Let your head gently fall forward. Let your head gently fall forward. Look at the floor. Look at the floor. Hold your belly. Hold your belly. Feel it moving into your belly button. Push it into your hands, into your belly button. Let your head collapse. Collapse your head forward. Collapse your head forward. Okay. When it's all the way down there, deep, deep down, hold it and then go for as long as possible.
Okay. I don't think I did that right.
That's okay.
That was
The
that was a
first time you
trial
did it,
run.
you do
That
it.
was a trial run.
Yeah. So let's just do that again.
Okay.
So have your power triangle ready. Breathe in, open the chin, open the chest, open, open, open. Take up some space, open up that beautiful heart, and then just let everything collapse forward. Hold your breath, hold your breath, hold your breath, hold your breath. Gently go from your upper chest to your middle chest, down into your belly. Put your hands onto your belly, put your hands onto your belly. Feel it down low, pressurize it gently, and then let it out with a really slow. That's it.
All right, that one was better. That one was better.
Okay. And just checking in how you're traveling.
I'm doing good. I gotta get my chin up.
And this is, be careful. There's no right way to do this. So just remove the idea it's got to be done a certain way. Because us military people, we've got to do it right? Because there's a
Yeah,
right way and a
yeah.
wrong way. And if you're wrong, it's somehow morally wrong. Okay. And
Giving
and
me
other
mild
people are going to
flashbacks. You're
suffer.
like chin up, chin
Yeah.
up. I'm like, oh man, here I
Yeah,
am
yeah,
messing
right.
up in training.
Yeah. Yeah. So we want to just give yourself permission to do this wrong. Okay. No one's going to suffer if you do this wrong. This is just, so allow yourself to just let all that part of us that wants to find and always be right and be in control, right?
Right.
So there's no right or wrong way to do this. And essentially, when you do this enough, it'll feel right. It'll feel like making a fist.
Yes.
Okay. And we practice this in the times when we're relaxed and safe. So when shit gets real, you can be the one that's breathing correctly. So there's two different yous. There's the you that's breathing correctly in a situation, and there's you breathing incorrectly in a situation. So when I'm training fighters, I'll say, imagine there's you breathing and you're breathing 1.5 liters of air in a fight. And then there's you breathing with 3 liters of air in a fight. Who's going to go longer? Who's going to be, you know,
Right.
yeah, right. So there's you going through life, breathing correctly, accessing all this good stuff. And then there's you shallow breathing, putting yourself in fight or flight, and you're very susceptible to shit that isn't applicable. You do need those sneakers to be accepted, to love yourself. You do need to have a certain car, a certain thing. Okay. All these non-sovereign thoughts
Yeah.
come in when we're in a fight or flight because, oh, maybe that's true. So we're going to do this. And what I want you to do is when you let it out, I want you to sort of just clench your mouth and let it out with just a bleed. Try and make that exhale last for up to 60 seconds. So you really clench your mouth and just like, yeah,
Okay.
really let it out super, super slow. So
Okay.
don't let it out like a, so have it pressurize and have your mouth stopping that air coming out quickly.
Mm.
All right. So anyone at home, we're going to do this 3 times. I invite you to do it. You've got to be in a safe place, seated or somewhere and if you need to hang on to something, because this can have you drifting so deep that you get so relaxed that sometimes you can fall off your chair and not even know it. Okay. So give yourself permission to feel safe, to get into this. There's no way to do this wrong. This is just an awesome sensation that could potentially be the thing that makes a lot of good things come into your life. So let's just do this 3 times. I'll coach you through it, and I'll do it with you. So everybody, breathe in, pinch your fingers, raise your chest, and really allow more in there. Pinch your fingers, raise your chest. In, open, open, open. Feel those beautiful lungs opening up. Feel your chest opening up. Feel your heart being open. Then once you've got that there, wriggle it around, hold your breath, push it down past your mid chest. Let your body relax forward. Let everything just relax forward, relax forward. It naturally relaxes forward. Your body's getting what it needs. Put your hands on your belly. Feel that air in your belly. Feel it gently pressurized. And then restricting with your mouth, let out a tss for as long as possible. Try and make that, just let it out really slow. Slow, 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 slow as possible, slow as possible. Slower the better, and let your body relax. Let your body relax. There's all this tension that's just falling away. And notice when one thing relax, more things relax, more things relax. There's this cascade of relaxation. And then when you're ready, we're just going to breathe in again. Breathe in and make it nice and smooth. And let's just
Okay.
smooth and breathe it in. In. Move your shoulders, move it around, and then let it naturally fall from your upper chest down through your middle chest, naturally into the bottom of your belly button. Hold your belly, let your shoulders collapse forward, let your head collapse forward, head all the way forward, head all the way forward, like you're holding a balloon in your stomach. And then restricting with your mouth, push with your stomach as long as possible, as long as possible. Let everything fall out. Let your face relax, your shoulders, your back. Just let the oxygen do its work. It was built to connect. It was built to relax. Now, this last one, big smile on your face as we breathe in. Feel that smile in the front of your chest. Everything's really happy that you're saying good morning to it or evening. And then let that smile go from your upper chest down your middle chest, smiling into your belly, into your belly. It's so happy that you're connecting with it. Pressurize it, give it a loving squeeze, and let that last for as long as possible. Feel that joy of connection to a very deep part of you. Slow as possible, relaxing everything. Everything naturally equalizes. And just sit with that. Hold your breath for a second. There's no need to breathe. Keep your eyes closed. And I just encourage you to let that chair take your weight. Let your chair support you. Feel that weight in that chair. Let your body sit in that chair. It was built to support you. It will support you. So often in our tension, we don't allow ourselves to feel supported. It's like the tension in our body is our own way of trying to hold ourselves, but it doesn't work like that. We feel supported when we allow ourselves to feel supported, just like that chair is supporting you 100%. You can trust your body to be held. And in this place of peace, I just invite you to focus on your breath, and every sort of breath, feel how you're more open now. Feel how you have access to a peace and a relaxation you didn't have before. Feel how every breath can put a deep smile on every part of you. Who knew? Who knew that simple breathing could do this? And this experience is not to be rushed. What you're getting a taste of right now, people have searched their whole lives to experience, taken all sorts of substances to have what you're getting a taste of right now. People have traveled continents, lived full lives looking for what their breath could naturally give them. And it's in this place we can feel that everything we have is right here, access through our breath. What a divine gift. What a wonderful, wonderful place to be. Everything we need right here, right now. There's nowhere to go. There's no right way to do anything. There's nothing to do. And if you feel anything gets in the way of this peace, just take an extra deep breath and push it away. Notice how when you feel that breath, you can push through, push away anything that interrupts. So I just invite you to, if there's any kind of tension in your body, I invite you to breathe into that place right now. Really sort of breathe it up into that place. Use those squeeze of the fingers to breathe into that place, and notice how you can breathe relaxation into that part of your body. It's like you can breathe with focus into that part of your body where you normally find your tension. And then notice when you breathe into that part of tension, it has this cascade effect. All these other muscles that are underneath that tension relax, and underneath that, there's this just waterfall of relaxation that happens when you use that breath to breathe in relaxation. And I invite you now to see that you're not just breathing in breath, you're breathing in light. So I invite you to breathe light into those parts of you that have tension. So really sort of, pinch your fingers, breathe that light in and breathe away any blockages. The tension could be in your body, it might be in your mind, but I invite you to breathe in that breath of possibility. And just checking in.
I'm doing well. I think this is great that you have shared with us so much advice and information, but also actually physically practiced it with us for us to have that permanent part of this whole conversation.
It's beyond words can explain, and I'm really glad that you took that on, and you went there.
Yeah. I'm gonna go there again tonight and tomorrow morning, and I'm gonna get better and better at it. And with
Mm.
better sleep, a better me. And for everyone listening, if you're interested in even more resources and more of Tim, we will have his website, his app, everything in the description below for you to check out and for you to share with other people. If you can sleep better, why not help other people sleep better by spreading this episode and those links so that Tim can reach even more people, not just in his mission to stop veteran suicide, but to help people sleep better and to live better. So, ladies and gentlemen, be sure to check that out. And Tim Thomas, for you, sir, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been a great conversation. You've taught us so much in just a short period of time. I hope everyone sees this as a great investment. We talked about how time is valuable, and you have given us a way to make more time, which is what could be more valuable than that. So thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you, Mr. Whiskey. It's been an absolute pleasure being here. And I really like how you're not in the military anymore, but you're still serving, you're still bringing your gifts. And I've got a good feeling you've got good things coming your way, my friend. As do the people who have listened to this and have taken it on. They've got a lot of good things coming.
I appreciate that. So until next time, Tim Thomas, thank you.
Sailing through the ocean blue, nuclear reactors my crew, guiding the ship, the stars as our guide, through the waves we ride, jokes and laughter fill the air. On this voyage we have to share, working together, side by side, as one family we will abide. In the heart of the ship we reside, nuclear operators with pride, powering the vessel with every stride. Our mission, a source of great pride.